Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I've been wanting to do this talk and topic for such a long time, talking about the value that lending can give in terms of practice growth. And so before I dive in, I'm just going to give a few more minutes here just for everybody to settle in and to get set up. And then I'll give it about maybe 15 more seconds and we'll get this thing going. And thank you for spending your evening with us. So if you're on the East Coast, if you're on the West Coast, wherever this is lending here for you today, we really appreciate, grateful for your attendance. And so, all right, guys, well, let's dive in here. So, welcome to today's webinar. Today, my name is Michael Antozzi. So I oversee practice growth consulting here with MyAdvice. We have a digital marketing platform that really helps practices to grow leads and revenue. The title of today's webinar is called The Startup Practice Formula. Fund it, build it, market it, and then fill it. And I will tell you that the reason why I've been wanting to do this talk is because so often I talk to practice owners, and frankly, they're just not ready for marketing, even when we start to discuss some very entry-level costs. And my next question always then is, all right, well, like, are you funding yourself? Like, how are you acquiring funding? How are you acquiring working capital to help you to fulfill your growth position? And so this is why I feel like this topic is so necessary to talk about here today. And for today, I am joined by my friend Jason Householder. He is the CEO of LenDR Consulting. I've known Jason for many years. I love how specific you are, how detail driven you are, and really, Jason, as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the best as it relates to really helping to educate these practice owners. Let me just brag on you here if I can, though, just to give the audience a bit of an introduction. So Jason is a recognized thought leader in finance and practice growth strategy with nearly 2 decades of experience spanning healthcare lending, business consulting, and banking leadership. As the founder and CEO of LenDR Consulting and a board member of Accelerate, Jason has helped countless dental, medical, and veterinary professionals scale their practices, improve profitability, and execute successful transitions. Pardon me. His expertise lies in guiding business owners through complex challenges, whether if it's through securing financing, expanding locations, planning a strategic exit. Jason really has a very holistic view of the market and does it all. His reputation is built on driving measurable results and forging trusted national relationships, making him a go-to advisor in healthcare entrepreneurs seeking clarity, growth, as well as long-term success. Jason, anything else that you would like to add to that?
I think it's perfect. I don't think that there's anything else I could have said.
All right, very good. And for those of you who do not know who I am, again, Michael Antozzi, I lead practice growth here with MyAdvice. I've been in the consulting space now for about 15 years. I've worked everywhere from the dental, aesthetic, veterinary spaces, but really helping to guide practice owners to align and to build their web presence and digital strategy to ultimately grow patient acquisition as well as revenue. I will tell you guys, we've seen a lot of big shifts and changes in the market in today's age, especially with how AI is influencing a lot of shifts and changes within how patients are finding providers online. So we'll get into a little bit more of that later on. Jason, though, I want to give you the floor. Again, demystify this process for me. Why are not more practice owners seeking SBA loans and capital financing before they come to me?
I mean, it's a great question. It's a loaded question, but a great question nonetheless. So I appreciate you asking, and thanks for having me on tonight. It's great to be here and have an opportunity to share with all of you. Very passionate about what we do and just helping educate doctors in a area that a lot of times can be troublesome because you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of times finance can be scary. Most people know how to ask the two basic questions: what's your interest rate and what's your prepay penalty? But they don't think to take it further. And so as you go through this process, a lot of people will shy away from it. We hear all the time, well, when I financed my business, when I bought it, or when I bought my real estate, or whatever it might be, I didn't have a great experience, Michael. And so I'd rather not deal with banks, and they shy away from that. So it's the fear of, I don't want to have a bad experience. I don't have time for this. I'm a busy business owner, and I want to make sure that I can stay on track. right? They're busy treating patients, running a business, being family folks, a father, a mother, a friend, whatever it might be. And so that's why we typically, when we speak to our doctors about the financing, what do you have in place? It's something that just gets overlooked, especially when you're comparing conventional to SBA financing. There's no wrong or right way to do something. You just got to figure out, what fits you the best. As they say, different strokes for different folks. I mean, I've got two different opportunities right now that we're working with where it's a two-doctor startup. One of them is going exclusively conventional. It fits, they can build out what they need. They have the budget necessary to do all of their tenant improvements, to buy the equipment that they need, put the marketing budget in place, deal with designers, consultants, you name it. And then I've got a group that I'm working with where we had to do what's called a pari passu. That's where a portion of their loan is going to be conventional, but then a portion of it's also going to be SBA. The SBA portion is kicking in to make up for what the conventional lender wasn't, I guess, comfortable with going to those limits in a startup. I mean, in today's world, the cost of starting a practice or expanding or growing or doing anything has just grown exponentially. I mean, think about what costs were at pre-COVID, think of them post-COVID, and then think of what's happened in the last 18 to 24 months with inflation and everything else. The cost of doing business has just continued to grow and grow and grow. And what you can get done for, 600,000 or 800,000 today isn't what you could have in the past. And so it's about educating our doctors so that they can make really good, sound decisions that's based on facts, statistics, and knowledge. They're making an informed decision, is what we like to tell them. So when you're talking about how to either start your practice, grow your practice, expand your practice, it doesn't matter where you're at. You're either going up the mountain or you're coming down the mountain. You're on one side of it. It's called business ownership. Our job is to understand which side you're on and at what velocity you're traveling. Is this super fast and we're growing and we're moving? Or is this controlled, slow? I want to do things at my own pace and feel comfortable. And a lot of times when you talk about this stuff with doctors, it's not just demystifying business ownership as far as I want to be a business owner and I'm not one today. It's more of a catch-all. It's demystifying business ownership in the sense of whether you're already a business owner or you want to be one, they all come with their own set of positives and what I call the scaries, and a lot of times people will ask themselves, okay, is the pain of my current situation greater, equal to, or less than the fear of what I'm about to embark upon? And and if the pain of, okay, I know I should grow, I know I need marketing to grow. I know I should do these things, but the pain's not that bad. So I'd rather, do nothing. I'm not going to engage a bank. I'm not going to talk to people about this stuff. And it's usually not until that pain outweighs the fear of that next chapter in their life, whether that's becoming a business owner or expanding within your own business space. Does that make sense, Michael?
I heard a great quote one time that says, "Pain pushes you until vision pulls you."
It's great.
I could
I
not have
love it.
I could have not said that better myself. So I think that's a good introduction. Why? Let me ask you a question. Why would a business owner, and I loved how you phrased that as well too, because folks, you are in business ownership now. Yes, you're opening up a practice. I know you want to take care of patients. That's why you got into this in the first place. But you also have to think about the practical and the financial side of the infrastructure that it takes to be able to make that happen. This is why, again, you have to think with a business mindset and understand that things are just not going to appear. It's not like you just take out that lease and open up your doors and say, all right, well, where are all the patients? You have to have good partners in place that are going to help to give you the investments into growth. My question for you, why do why would a healthcare practice owner why would they not just work with like a regular bank, Jason? Why is it that working with somebody like you that has lending expertise in the healthcare space, how is that going to benefit them than say just a regular bank lender?
Sure. And again, this comes down to preference. Some doctors are going to enjoy working with groups like us, and some are more hands-on DIY. I want to be involved. I want to control. This is something I enjoy doing, and they want to go do that. But if you're not one of those, which most people, in my 2 decades of being in this industry, I have yet to receive a phone call, text, or email that says, "I'm so glad you sent me all that paperwork. I can't wait to fill it all out. I'm super excited." Right? Nobody says that. And there's a reason for that. And so it's one of those things where, because you don't always know what you don't know, and banks are two things. They're always assessing risk, and they are for profit. Now, there's nothing wrong. All businesses are for profit. Every doctor on here to some degree is for profit. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just we want to help you understand how they're making their money on you. And then, is the opportunity at hand the best opportunity for you? And sometimes that can be interest driven, sometimes it can be cash flow driven, and then sometimes it can be opportunity driven. And I'm going to explain the difference between those three. And this is why people would choose to work with us, because our group helps to put together your pro forma, your projections, your business plans, your execution strategies, your growth models. We talk it through, because our experience isn't that of one practice or two practices, or, hey, I've worked for 5 practices. That's wonderful. Me and my team collectively combined have thousands, pluralized, thousands of practices that we have been in. And so we have thousands of experiences that we can bring to the table and help strategize around what it is you're trying to accomplish, to help be a soundboard for you to talk about the good, the bad, and the different. What should we do? Why should we do it? And why would a bank like to do that? Right. So as you go through that, and as you're sitting there, you're going, okay, what do I want to do? You also have to talk about time restraints. The biggest, when we deal with this, typically a doctor's going to spend about 60 hours putting their financing together, from going online, Googling, filling out applications, multiple phone calls, multiple emails, multiple texts. And the thing is that, when do people do business? During business hours. When do doctors see patients? During business hours, which means it's usually some sort of distraction. Ding, ding, ding on your phone. Whatever's going on, you're looking at it and it's a text from your banker. You're stepping away for a second. And now, for you to get back on track, for you to get back into the rhythm that you were just in, they say takes hours, not minutes, hours for you to get back into that groove. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but those minutes really start to add up. So, not only are we talking about time restraint, but unless you raise your hand and you say, "I love talking about financials, I love looking at spreadsheets, and I love filling out paperwork and talking to bankers," um, it's not really something that you enjoy. So allow somebody who specializes in that space to do it. It's kind of like, the analogy I like to use is, if I wake up and my mouth hurts, I'm not going to see my family physician. I'm going to see my dentist. Why? Because that's what they specialize in, is my mouth. And so I want to make sure I understand what's going on there. And as you go through the process, we're not only educating you, but we're stress testing what you're doing. We're underwriting the deals. We're making sure that it makes sense, and we're making sure that you're bankable, that you're ready for this. Because the last thing we want to find out is that you got into this, either you weren't ready, or your banker, and it wasn't malicious, right? But they didn't give you the additional guidance that you probably needed to have. And so now your budgets fall short. And that's where, Michael and I find ourselves talking to this all the time. And the best example I can give you is a doctor that came to us for some consulting work. She'd already taken her loan out. We got into her loan. We started talking to her about her budgets, what she was doing, where she's doing it, why she's doing it that way. And as we went through, we realized there was going to be a huge shortfall. And we had to have the conversation with her about, okay, you didn't factor in things for signage. You didn't factor things in for IT. You didn't factor things in for this. Is there a reason? Well, I didn't know I needed to. I thought that my bank gave me all the money I was going to need because this is what they do. And I said, true. But this isn't a one size fits most. Every doctor is going to be slightly different, which means your budgets are going to be slightly different regardless of what you're doing. And she ended up having to come out of pocket 6 figures to bridge the
Wow.
gap
Oh,
just just to open her practice. That's
oh,
just to open her practice. Now, luckily for her, her and her husband were in a position to bridge that gap because a lot of times when my phone rings, it's, hey, my bank ran out of money. They won't give me anymore, but my business isn't ready to be open. What do I do, Jason? And then we have to step in and it's triage, right? We're just sitting there, like an urgent care, an emergency room, and we're trying to triage this to figure out how to fix it. Now, most times we can, but we can't always fix it, right? But we do the best that we can. So, when you're thinking about just going straight to a bank versus working with a group like ours, because this is all we do, we don't have a horse in the race. To us, it doesn't matter who you're working with. Our job is to tell you this is what we know about the lenders. Based on what you've shared with us, this is what you'll enjoy. This is what may cause irritation. They're going to require for you to do X, Y, and Z, or their budgets are only going to allow for you to borrow this much money. And based on what we see, you need this much money. Now we can try to fit it into this small space, but in all reality, what we find is that people end up blowing their budgets for one reason or another. So when people decide to work with us over going directly to the banks, it's because they feel comfortable and confident at every step and every stage that someone is checking their work so that when it comes time, they don't have to lose sleep over, do I have enough money in my budget? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I mean, I had a doctor who literally had to wait 6 months because there was a truss in his building that was caving in. He didn't own the building, but as they were building on the floor above him, it started to slope down in a concrete building. So you can imagine how scary that is. Well, they had to deem it inhabitable, so he had to move out, right? While all this is going on, and it was delay, delay, delay. Now, luckily for us, he'd been working with us. We knew that things like this could happen, so we had already pre-budgeted for some of this stuff. We had added in some fluff for him. We were able to go back to the bank, plead our case. We debated it very well, and we were able to get him the additional funds needed while he spent time working with the building owner to fix it so that it could be done safely. And now it's one of the most beautiful dental practices in Charlotte. People come from all over the place to see this. I mean, it's state of the art, everything. So, when you're talking about stuff like that, it's not that you're not capable. Almost every doctor I've ever met is capable. The question isn't, am I capable? The question is this how you want to invest your time? Is this where you want to do it? Is this where you want to spend it? Or would you rather spend it on increasing hand speed, increasing diagnosis, increasing CE, spending more time in your business, spending more time with family, doing the things that are going to generate revenue, not things that are somewhat medial in nature. So a little bit long-winded, but it's a very complex question because not everybody that comes to us, we tell them we're not for everybody. We're a small boutique and we're usually interviewing you just as hard as you're interviewing us because we want to make sure that this is a good relationship that will reciprocate back and forth. That as we coach, you receive, and then as you receive, your intellectual levels grow, and now the complexity of your questions grow. But by the time we're done, I love it because I see doctors having conversations and I'm like, whoa, you sound like me. And they're like, well, I did learn from you, Jason. So I'm glad I sound like you. But what it does is it gives you the confidence that the decisions you're making are the best decisions for you. Not, well, I hope it's the best decision. And it's not that your bankers aren't great. I was a banker. Bankers are great. They're there to help you, but their understanding and knowledge of the overarching um, project is really restricted to the banking aspect of it. They're not going to sit there and talk to you about how long it's going to take for permitting. So this is how long you need to take into consideration for your interest reserves. What are interest reserves, Jason? How much working capital should I ask for? What should my tenant improvements be? Why should it be that? It's all of these things that kind of come together that we help to walk the doctors through so that as they go through this process, they can do so with their heads held high, knowing that someone standing behind them has their best interests at heart. So, that's why someone would choose us over just going straight to the bank.
And I love that. I tell my practices all the time, you have to invest into building your team. And I've known you for several years, Jason. And this is again one of the things that I've always just appreciated about you is how you're I mean this in the most respectful ways. You're like a daddy lender. What I mean by that is you're there to really take care of your clients as if they're your kids. I've seen
Yeah.
that with you. And that's why again, folks, you're opening up this practice working with professionals that have the foresight of understanding and telling you what you need as opposed to having to second guess through that whole process and then you find yourself in this position where it's like crap, I don't have enough money to be able to continue to build. I would hate to be in that position of your doctor having to fork over six figures to just open up her doors. And as far as just finding 60 hours to get my lending material together, we both have kids. I can tell you, my time, my bandwidth between work and kids, I might have maybe an hour to book some plane tickets every single night. Like finding, if I was a doctor working with you, Jason, it would probably take me a year to get you all the material that I would need to get you.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we fast track it for you, right? Because we're on the phone, we're filling it out for you. You're not having to guess. It takes me a half an hour and I'm done. And usually when I hand it off to a doctor, because you are busy, you know what I mean? I'm doing it here and there in between patients, in between bites, if you even have time to eat your lunch. I mean, most doctors I talk to at 2 or 3 o'clock, sorry, Jason, I'm eating in your ear. I've just finally got a break to grab something to eat really quick.
Yeah,
Because when do patients want to come see you? On their lunch breaks, right?
yeah,
So, so that's usually how that happens. And you're right. I mean, we try to treat this as it's our own, and we don't just work with our clients, at the beginning. We work with them at the beginning. We help negotiate on their behalf. And if you don't speak the bank language, I tell people I'm your bank interpreter. I'm going to tell you what the real underlining question to the real question is. Because they'll ask you a question that'll seem super innocent, and the next thing you know, you're finding out your deal's being declined because of how the question was answered. And then doctors are going, whoa, 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 wait, what? Why? I didn't realize it was, and they're frustrated about it. Our job is to help bring you to life because banks see so many clients every day that you're nothing more than a spreadsheet of numbers to underwriters. And I don't mean that to be rude or disrespectful, but they don't get the chance to meet the doctors and understand them and learn who they are as humans. My job is to humanize you and to bring you to life, which is why doctors who work with us, we have a 93 to 95% approval rating versus your average bank right now is hovering somewhere around 40 to 45%. So almost double, right? And we do so with accuracy, but we also provide multiple options, which kind of leads me to the next thing that most people tend to ask at this stage, which is you know um Jason, so I've always heard bad things about SBA loans. Okay, so tell me what some of those are. Well, they're expensive, they're restrictive, they're this, they're that, and I go, okay, well, let's talk through this. SBA loans are not for everybody and they're not for every situation, but they do have a wonderful use when it makes sense, right? Like the example I shared a little bit earlier. You have a two-doctor practice, they're opening up an emergency clinic, and there's going to be an OR and some other things. Well, their space is bigger, so the tenant improvement budget has to be larger, and they're looking at, a $3 million budget. Now, for a two-doctor building what they're building, that's really not unheard of. And if you were to go to a conventional lender, they'd probably cap you at somewhere around 800,000, maybe a million, maybe if you're lucky, a million too. So what that means is now you're having to skimp. You're not able to build out the way you want. You're not able to get the equipment that you need. You're not able to pay for your marketing because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, because you're using all your other dollars to do so many other things. But the problem is that I tell people this phrase all the time. You can have the greatest just anything, right? Fill in the blank. Service, product, brand, doesn't matter. But if nobody knows you exist, you have nothing. So you have to tell people, you have to educate people about who you are, what makes you different, why people will come see you. So as long as you're doing that, but a lot of times things like consulting, when people are looking at their budgets for the month, they're going, okay, I know I need to do marketing, but I'll continue to do social media right now because I don't have the money to do
Oh,
marketing, right? Because I don't have the money to do marketing.
totally.
So and so it falls to the wayside, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it's because it's being based on fear driven facts that, oh, there's only one way to do this, or well, my banker told me that I'm not ready to get lending. Well, you may not be ready for their bank, but there are hundreds of banks out there, and I can tell you the difference between each one of them and why one would do the deal and one wouldn't do the deal. Our job is to help prepare you because there's usually five primary elements to every single transaction as it relates to banking. It's credit worthiness, it's your capital, your capacity, your collateral, and your character. We call it the five pillars of finance. So your credit worthiness is, do you pay your bills on time? Pretty easy, right? What's your credit score? The capital is, what kind of liquidity do you have? So, like most banks have a liquidity requirement, but not all do. Why do some have it? Why don't some have it? Who do I talk to? What does that mean? How do I build my liquidity? What's more important, paying down debt, credit cards, things like student loans, or saving? And it's a balance. Each person's going to be a little bit different, but liquidity is always going to be a key element here. Capacity is a fancy word for cash flow. Does the business, can it support the debt you're taking on? The magic number that most banks are looking for, depending on the size of your deal, is going to hover between 1.2 and usually 1.35. Now, 1.3 and 1.35 are geared towards practices that are going to be looking at larger exposure rates of 3 million and above. If you're under 3 million, a million to three is usually 1.25, and under a million's 1.2. Now you're probably all going, I don't have a clue what you just said. So now I'm going to put my hat on for your bank interpreter, and I'm going to explain this to you in a way that hopefully makes sense, which is um, a bank's mentality is, for every dollar that you spend, the business is making $1.20. So that's where the 1.2, 1.25, and so on and so forth comes from. Now you cascade that over $1 million, right? So what they're saying is, for every $1 million that you're spending, your business should be making $1.2 million a year in gross revenue. Okay. That's how you arrive at the 1.2. So how does it support that? And if you're going through an expansion, most banks are comfortable with you being at a break even, which is $1 to $1. Okay. And then with your projections, we show them that you can cash flow once you start to bring in the additional patient base. But part of that has to be using someone like Michael, who's going to help you market your expansion. When do you start telling people about your expansion? Why is that exciting? Why do you want to get the community involved and things along those lines? Collateral, which is the business itself. What do we have for collateral? And the last part is character. So who are you? That's how I bring you to life, by giving a voice to your file, by giving a voice to your request, by making sure that the bank, the underwriter, because I'm on the phone with all of these people and I'm not just telling them from a fact sheet, oh, well, I'm looking at cell N47 and it says this number because that's a lot of what they're doing. So now I'm talking to them about the doctors. I'm telling them funny stories. I'm telling them what makes them great. And so now I'm humanizing your file to these people and making them look at you as a real person, not just numbers on a sheet. So, that's in a nutshell. I could obviously talk about this for hours, days, weeks on end. I love this stuff, but I don't want to monopolize everything. So that hits on a lot of the high points. If anybody would like to schedule just a one-on-one, I'm happy to dive deep into this. Why did we start the company? What happened? Why did I leave banking? Those are a lot of the big questions, and I'm happy to talk further about that. But it really just came down to I wanted to help doctors on the masses, and I wanted to be able to provide them with this information and do so from a position of not being tethered to one bank. So I'm Switzerland, right? I'm not tethered to anybody and can give you good advice that helps you as you navigate your professional careers because the right banking partner is like being married to the right person. They're either going to encourage you to achieve everything you're possible of achieving, or they're going to discourage you and you're going to end in divorce. So,
And for those of you who would like to meet up with Jason one-on-one, we're going to show some contact cards at the end of this call today. But I did put a link to Jason's calendar into the chat here. So for those of you who are watching this, and by the way, Jason, I mean, again, round of applause for everything I just heard. I mean, it's so clear. Like, it's just so much more than lending that you're helping out with. It's planning, it's projections, it's seeing that, it's understanding, you knowing the unknowns that this practice is about to embark into. So I love everything about what you're doing on that front, and you are a great partner. That's for sure. I also like to think about what we do here with MyAdvice as also being that as well too, being a partner and not here to be a vendor. So now we've gotten a lot of great background and understanding why lending is important, working with folks that can help you to understand and see through the headwinds. How do you put this to work? And yes, I love how you put that, like bring them to life. This is where the action plan, though, comes into marketing. And what we do here at MyAdvice really helps to accelerate and to drive that. Since we're starting and talking about some numbers, though, here, let's at least talk about some ratios. I think that that would really be a good place to start. Folks, I see a variety of different specialists on here today, from the wellness side to the ophthalmology side, aesthetic side. Let's just make one thing clear. When you are a fee for service practice, and you are offering cash medicine services, you must and have to budget and line item for marketing. I see this a lot, especially with like single provider practices where they say to me all the time, well, I've grown a lot through word of mouth, and but I'm trying to get more patients. And so, let me post a lot on Facebook or social media because it's free. Number one, word of mouth is not a strategy. That is just you kind of wishing that things will continue to go the way that they go. And as we all know, with economic forces, uh, chaos that's always going to be in the world, that things can be disrupted just like that. So you have to have a plan in place for growth that's going beyond just the good work and the goodwill that your patients are talking about you. So you have to budget for marketing. That needs to be a part of your line item. I'm shocked at when I talk to practices and I ask them that question and they say, well, we don't actually have a marketing budget. Now, what I will tell you is you want to think about, who do I see myself as from a growth perspective? Do I want to be that aggressive grower? And maybe, after you work with Jason and his team and you have the necessary funds to invest into marketing and your practice is newer, maybe you are that aggressive grower because you want to hit your market hard. You want to make your impact known and felt. Generally speaking, what those practices are doing is they're investing around 10% of what revenue is, or their whatever loan value that they might have, back into marketing. Sustainable growers, and that tends to be more of the common type of practice owner that I talk to. They tend to fall within more like the 4 to 6% margin. Okay. So I would encourage you to think about that. Think about what your revenue is, what your lending might be, and then how do you ratio that out? And then how do you start to really optimize a digital strategy because of that? Now, what I will tell you with my 15 years of consulting in this space, I've seen a lot of marketing strategies fail. I've seen a lot of practice owners into positions where they're overspending more to see less back. And the reason why that is because there's not a strategy or a protocol in place that you are following that makes you develop and to cultivate a strong online sales funnel. So, because MyAdvice, we have been in the cash medicine space now for over 20 years. Myself, as an equity partner, I have worked with everybody from single provider, single location. I'm renting out of a salon suites up to multi location private equity backed practices and anywhere in between within that spectrum. It doesn't matter where you are at, though. You need to start to build a strongly fortified uh, digital marketing sales funnel for your practice when the goal is to grow high revenue to convert patients efficiently. We help to demystify this process by giving practices a framework and an understanding the right way of building out things. And this is what we call our pyramid of success. The idea about this framework, though, is that you always achieve growth from the ground up and you don't start by doing it from the top down. 90% of practices that I talk to for the first time, they take top down approaches where maybe what they're doing is they invest heavily into doing ad campaigns, and they also might be doing ad campaigns on, say, social media, on Facebook, because it's cheap to do. Well, guess what? Cheap marketing drives cheap leads, and that's not a way that you're going to build the sustainable business model. So they might start here, but yet like they have no, like they don't really have a consistent Google review process, or maybe they have a website but it doesn't convert well. And so when folks do things out of order, it's the equivalent of me coming into your practice to say, hey, I want you to make me feel better. I want you to make me see better. I want you to make me look better. But I smoke and I drink and I party my face off all the time and I eat like crap and I don't exercise. I'm sure that whoever's watching this, you've seen patients that have those expectations when they come to see you in the room. And you're probably thinking to yourself, my name is not Jesus Christ. I can't turn water into wine. If you want to optimize results, well, you might want to start to take care of some things that are very foundational. And the reality is, folks, is that your online presence, your digital strategy works no differently. Is that you have to start to build and optimize on the appropriate levels and the appropriate framework. What I want to talk to everybody out here today is really 1, 2, 3, and 4, because really, I've had a chance to take a look at some of the strategies for our attendees here today, and there's a lot of you guys who are missing your foundation. And 1, 2, 3, and 4 is really what represents the right foundation. All right. Let's start by talking about your website here, because the website is really the main hub that governs any type of visibility spoke. So in other words, what that means is that it doesn't matter if you're marketing yourself through billboards, TV, online, print, what have you. All that exposure leads back to the website. And the website's job is to convert leads and to be able to make your phone ring. If it ain't doing that, it's not doing the job for your practice in the way that it should. And I'm going to start by taking a look at one of our attendees' websites here. Doctor, thank you for being a guinea pig here. But Jason, let me ask you a question. Why does a practice have a website? What do you think of that? What's the main reason?
Legitimize, find you, make sure you're real. What services do you offer? All
Oh,
of the
beautiful.
stuff, right? Yeah.
Everything you said is those are components to what a website does. It's not the main reason as to the why, though. You
Hmm.
have it to make money. Very simply put, a website that works well is going to convert leads efficiently. And folks, I want you to look at your website and ask yourself, like, if I was a patient looking at this for the first time, does this website make it seem as if I invest well? Does it make it seem like, ooh, I'm really excited about coming to this practice? Or is it just say, I don't know? And more so too, are you making it easy for the lead to convert? Let's talk about the conversion aspects here on this website here. First thing that's missing from this site, where's the phone number? The phone number, which is the most important piece of call to action detail, you can't even find on the homepage of the website. It's nowhere to be found. Imagine being a patient and they're looking at this and like, well, gosh, I would really like to go to this practice. How can I get in touch though with them? Um, you've lost them at that point. The patient's mindset in today's age is we want things to be immediate. You want to make their journey into your practice as frictionless as possible. When we say consolidate a website down onto a smartphone application, and by the way, for those of you who are watching this, I do apologize in advance if you're claustrophobic. But in today's age, smartphone traffic is about 75% of your traffic in today's age. So does your website feature mobile click to call? Can I click on a phone icon and get connected to the practice's main line? As I say, start to investigate and to review some of these services and go into the internal pages. Are there methods or ways where I can actually have short contact forms on every single page of the website? What I will tell you guys is that contact form inquiries, they convert at a higher rate than a phone call. To what Jason was talking about earlier, everybody is so busy during the day. So anytime that any patient is going to have any ability to do their homework about you or explore the services that they want to invest into happens outside of normal business hours. They can't make a phone call, but what they certainly could do is they can submit their data through your website. Let me show you guys a website that we've developed here, and this is what converts on a very efficient level. Number one, just the aesthetics of this site are very inviting. You look at this site and you're like, wow, this looks like a place that they invest well. If they really invest well into their business, what are they going to do to take care of me? Of course, they're going to take care of their patients well because they know how to do it for themselves. But again, the efficiency of conversions is what really matters here. Doesn't matter where you scroll on this site, the phone number, the main call to action is always going to stick on the eye line of a patient. You always, always, always need to make sure that that phone number is there front and center. When we say consolidate this site down onto a smartphone, a mobile application, can I click on a phone icon and get connected directly to the practice's main line? Again, that's going to help to make the patient's journey into your practice all the much more efficient. Again, I talked about the importance of having contact forms on every single page. Is there a place where it's actually inviting people to schedule a consultation? Please submit your information here through our websites. That way we can follow up with you. One new feature, guys, that if you are not doing this at your practice today, you are 100% leaving money on the table. And I'm talking to you specifically, practice owner, where maybe this might be more of a part-time job or a part-time practice for you at this point that you want to make it into a full-time practice. You're not keeping full days. Do you have AI chat integrations that actually sit and live on your website? Where what AI can do is it can do the conversating and the responding for you and basically becoming your website receptionist without you having to be there to engage with leads, because the AI understands everything about your practice as a predicate of the content as well as the information that actually lives on the website. You need to have that on your website. And I will tell you the reason why this is because, frankly, this is a lead generation accelerating tool on your website. This has been a game changer for the practices that we are working with. And what I'm actually going to do here for you guys, I'm going to share with you a case study that we have recently put together on AI chat integrations, just because this has been so profound from a lead generation perspective. Again, what Jason has talked to you guys about here is getting the necessary funding, the financial resources to invest into your practice's growth. Are you developing a strategy then that's going to optimize that growth, those financial resources, to lower your cost of acquisition as low as it can go? This is a new case study that we've recently put out, though, on our chat integration tool. And one of the things here, I'll talk to you about our client, Dr. Martha Stewart. She has just turned on the AI chat tool, okay? Now, from this last month, she had received 80 total leads. 66 of those 80 leads were directly related to the chat tool. So in other words, before this, she was averaging maybe around 15 website leads per month. Turning this on had more than quadrupled her lead volume. 55 of the converted leads were directly then linked to the chat integration tool. So again, guys, when we're talking about making money, it's about making the patient's journey into your practice as frictionless as possible. You can see how much that lead curve had accelerated by a completely free and complementary feature of the websites that we actually create. So again, when we want to start to optimize results better, to optimize revenue better, to be able to say maybe pay off some of your SBA loans quicker and to generate revenue more efficiently, this is why you need to have a well-structured marketing plan. Now, going back to this framework here, once you have understanding the website is all about lead generation and conversions, how do you start to really build in the layers of your visibility? And I'm going to kind of go a little bit quickly here through this, guys, but talking about your foundation, the very first thing that a practice ever has to do is they need to align what we refer to as their local listings and making sure that their practice's business information is being listed accurately and consistently across the internet. You probably have no idea what I just said here to you, so let me just break this down a little bit. First of all, when we talk about the layers of online marketing, it really exists in three separate layers. The foundation layer that supports everything else that you do is what we call your local visibility. What local visibility basically means is I'm going to go to a search engine like a Google or even now like a Chat GPT or a Claude or a Perplexity, and I'm going to say, hey, search engine, who is the best med spa near me? Who is the best ophthalmologist near me? Who's the best glaucoma specialist in, say, Tucson, Arizona? Those are all examples of what we call a local search. Something, something, something near me. Now, there's two things that Google wants to understand within a practice to really optimize it to show it well. The first is what we call the consistency of your practice's local listings. Basically, local listings are these profiles that exist across the internet. There's about 60 of them, as well as 15 applications. And when these near me searches are being done, what Google basically wants to do is it wants to trust and validate and verify. What is this business entity, in this case, Catalina Eye Care, where it might be located, what's the proper name, what's the proper address, phone number, et cetera, et cetera. And it wants to see the consistency of that data among these different local profiles. Now, I'm not suggesting that a patient is going to go to, say, Merchant Circle or Tupelo to try to find you. That's what Google is for. But Google relies on the consistency of this information. Now, in this particular practice's case, they're at a 58% inaccuracy score. And as we start to dive into this here, we're seeing a lot of these inconsistencies. There was an old office address that the practice might have moved from. In this particular case, it's saying that, well, no, the business is actually called Leslie M. Weintraub as opposed to Catalina Eye Care. Now, these errors ultimately come from sources of data which you cannot control. It's what we call data aggregators. Things like credit card files, government records, leasing agreements, etc. You have to have a streamlined way and a process of really being able to mitigate and to suppress bad information, and then to be able to push clean and accurate listing data about your practice. One of the things that we help to do for our clients is we integrate a software application which is called Local SEO. What Local SEO basically is, it's a software application that would sync in and connect into a Google business profile. So it's this asset right over here. It's a combination of offense and defense. Number one, if there is any misinformation, if there's bad data, we ultimately suppress this through an API. The second thing, though, that we do is we push the clean and the accurate listing detail about your practice to all of these profiles and directories, and we maintain that and we keep it fixed. We're not just simply talking about name, address, and phone number. We're also optimizing office hours, services, payment methods that you may or you may not accept. It's overall complete business listing management of your data. Now, because we're so specialized in healthcare, and healthcare sites are all that we do, we've been doing this since 1998. We currently work with over 3,000 practices throughout the United States. What we have is a trove of performance data that we can give our clients clear guidelines and clear expectations as to what you can expect when investments are made and when you start to do things in a consistent way. This is a case study that we had profiled looking at over 200 of our practices that we actively do this for. Some folks were in a very bad state of inaccuracy, some were better, others were doing more to complement their marketing, some were doing a little bit less. Bottom line, though, what this tool will help to drive over a 2-month period is increasing your search presence on Google by 23%, increasing your direction request to your practice by 22% from platforms like Google Maps, 18% increase with website traffic, 11% increase in terms of inbound phone call volume. Now imagine complementing strong visibility with a website that's actually working for you 24/7, 365, and what that can mean in terms of differences with lead generation as well as revenue conversion. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. So again, when your goal is to grow well, this is the first thing that you have to do. Now, what this is complemented by is what you are doing to drive reviews about your practice online, specifically to Google. Guys, there's a lot of review platforms which are out there. Google is the gold standard, particularly for my practice owners that say all of my marketing is word of mouth. Well, guess what happens when you're word of mouth? What's a new patient do when they hear about the name of your practice? They're going to Google you. And what's the first thing that they're going to see? Is your Google business profile here. So this is the doorstep into your online optimization. This is the first thing, the first impression where you have to make that case. Now, again, pulling up two different of these Google profiles here. A good review strategy with Google really is a function of four main things. And all of these have to be done in a sequence. You have to have a good rating. You have to have good volume. You have to have great consistency, and that's probably the most important part of a review strategy. And then finally is, are you engaging with reviews and are you saying thank you to them? All of those parts matter in terms of the effectiveness of a Google review strategy. In Catalina Eye Care's case, what I will just simply say here is that when we sort to the newest, yes, they do have new reviews here, but you can certainly see, I'm imagining this is a higher volume practice, but there's only been basically 2 new reviews over the last month. And the rating here is a little bit lower than where we would like this to be. We generally want to see this at a 4.8 to a 4.9. If they were more consistent, that review score would increase pretty quickly. Lottie Aesthetics and Wellness, again, as we go to this here and sort to the newest, they've had 1 new review in the last 2 months. And this is something that I hear my clients say all the time. Michael, I have so many happy patients. I ask them to leave me reviews. They say that they're going to do it, but they just don't do it. The reason why they don't do it is because it's your job to, again, make their experience as frictionless and as easy as possible to get into your practice. So one of the things that we do to support our clients as we start to really build in a marketing strategy is we integrate what we call our Client Success Center. And what you can think about our Client Success Center as being is that this is your revenue platform. If you want to grow leads and increase more revenue, you have to understand your metrics, and you need a platform that's going to help you to demystify return on investment for every level of marketing that you are doing. And this is something that we set up for our clients that you have 24/7, 365 insights into. So at any given moment in time, a practice can understand, hey, how many leads has my website generated? How many have we attempted to reach out to? What was converted? It's important to understand your leads in terms of lifetime value potential, not necessarily, okay, what did this patient, oh, we got this lead in, we converted them, what did they spend for this one thing this one time? No, that's a very shallow perspective. It's all about, if you convert this patient now, today, what are they now going to spend into your practice over the course of many, many years? That's what we, again, call lifetime value. For an average med spa practice, for example, average lifetime value between 10 to 15 years is around $57,000. When's the last time you've looked at any new patient coming into your door and you thought to yourself, gosh, there's $57,000 that just walked through? People just don't think about the world that way. Everything's about very transaction as opposed to what is the value that you're actually building. We help to demystify that by helping you to understand what this potential revenue could be for your practice. There is very much a correlation between how quickly do you engage with leads and then how do they convert. That's why, again, you want to have AI chat integrations on your website because it does instant engagement. And when that engagement happens within the first 30 minutes of time, the average conversion rate is around 78% from lead to consultation. If it's been longer than 30 minutes, however, the conversion rate drops by half to 34%. What we also do too within our platform is we support bi-directional two-way lead communication texting directly through our system. So that way now when leads come in, you can text them immediately. If you wanted to understand aspects in terms of your listings, how is this helping me to generate more inbound phone call volume or website traffic or direction requests to your practice, we can share that with you. On the review side, again, everything that we offer is all integrated within one main system. So you're not having to think about, oh, I got to outsource my website build or my social media. No, we do all that really within one main hub. Now, again, going back to the patient's latency of not writing a review, you have to make that journey and that process as easy for them as much as possible. So one of the things that we actually do is we have a text message-based application that we integrate into our system. It allows you to send out a quick text request, just how I just did right here. Or you can even upload lists of your patients, and all of those patients get a mass text message that's sent all at the same time. You can see this text just came in here for me. I click on a link, it routes me to a landing page. I simply click on Google, and once I've done that, gosh, I'm taken directly here to your practice's Google business profile, and it's easy peasy just for me to be able to write my feedback about how great you are, and then I'm publishing that. Both of these practices need improvement with their Google review consistency. And I will tell you this, guys, the data that's behind this here is that when you are consistent with your reviews, revenue flows, lead generation flows. This is a case study that we had profiled for one of my clients, Dr. Saltz. Just looking at over a 12-month period and isolating review consistency, what did that mean for his bottom line? Well, being more consistent with his Google reviews drove 40% new visitors to his website. People that did not know that his practice existed were now finding his website 40% more of the time after a 12-month period. His search presence on Google had increased by 22%. Search presence on Google Maps had increased by 81%. This led, though, to a net increase of 38% more conversions over a 12-month period. So again, folks, when the goal is to grow well, you have to be consistent with your Google reviews. The last thing I'll say about your review strategy as well, too, and I'll go back to this profile here. While the rating is good, the consistency can be improved upon. What this practice also needs to be doing is engaging with reviews and replying to reviews and saying thank you to those reviews. This is 90% of the time one of the most appreciated but yet underutilized part of a Google review strategy that drives your visibility that most practices do not do. We help to take that workflow off of your shoulders by actually integrating artificial intelligence into our platform. So what AI can do is it can understand and then be able to see all of the reviews that have come in both from Facebook as well as through Google and be able to script and to construct a HIPAA compliant response, not acknowledging the patient's name, not acknowledging the service they have had done, but just simply acknowledging the review in and of itself. And the AI will understand your vernacular. It will understand what you're talking about, your tone, your preferences, and to be able to really obviously match how you would write some things. But again, we help to make practice profitability that much easier by integrating these different systems to be able to help you to grow your strategy out quicker and faster. Folks, we're almost here at our time. So I just want to say thank you to those of you who are watching this today. And I wanted to leave you all here as well too with a little bit of an incentive to help you guys to understand a bit of our modeling. We do not charge anything to say recreate your website. So if you know, hey, you're working with Jason, you're getting some great lending. Now I know I need to invest into my marketing strategy. We want to make this very, very easy for you. What we do here at MyAdvice is we combine the costs of the website build, the marketing, the data tracking, the AI, all that is within one monthly fee. We've put together some really great packages here for webinar attendees. I wanted to create something like this to, again, help people to understand the bridge between financing and marketing. Would love to be able to offer these plans here for you. And as a matter of fact, through August 15th, we are going to be waiving the first payment for you and giving you your first month free from us. So it's our way of being able to say thank you. So, folks, if you know, hey, Q4 is right around the corner, we know that we need to make ourselves better positioned to be able to drive lead flow and revenue, or even maybe say practice financing. I'll leave Jason's information up here. This is his contact information. His email is down below. I've also put a link to his calendar into the chat. This webinar will be terminating soon. So if you did not save that link, please do that. Click on that, at least get it into your browser, book a meeting with Jason. Again, if you know that you're needing some help on the marketing side, you need a strategy in place. Word of mouth is not a strategy, and we need something that's going to help to be able to open up additional lead coffers for us. The link to the left here, please take out your phone and scan this QR code. This will link directly into my calendar. Feel free to book a complimentary consultation with me. We'll be able to meet one-on-one, discuss a lot of your blind spots, where you could be positioned, and how we can help you. If you're not quite ready for that, though, this is also a link to my Instagram on the right. Feel free to scan this as well, too. Please follow me on Instagram. I always post a lot of content that's going to help you, to give you tidbits and insights in terms of how your practice positioning can be much stronger and better. So with that being said, I know that we're about a minute here past our time. I just want to say thank you again. Jason, my friend, thank you so much for your wisdom and for your knowledge. We're very, very grateful. And guys, again, if you're needing help, above all else, MyAdvice, LenDR, we are here to help you, to be a partner in your growth, and to really help to serve you. Jason, any other parting words that you might have here for us, for the group?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I always love talking about this stuff. I think I learned way more than I thought I was going to coming into this. I appreciate all you shared on the marketing stuff. It's extremely insightful. I love data and analytics, so I love that stuff, and happy to help. If anybody would like to book a meeting, please feel free to do so. I'd love to chat about anything you have going on. Michael, thank you for having me. Loved being on, and I appreciate all you do.
I appreciate you as well, too. Till then, guys, be well, and we hope to see you maybe around some of the trade show halls soon. Take good care.